views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Talk. Tonight's show is about garbage. Literally, garbage. Or as we say in the Bronx, garbage. It's about a Bronx-born artist who takes garbage and reclaims it for art. And as Welcome to the Bronx first reported and tipped us off, he also, quote-unquote, uses these pieces and everyday disposable plastic items as a way to teach children their potential. His mission, he says, is to bring greater significance to the seemingly insignificant. So please join us tonight in the realm of the truly possible and the artistic world of Daniel Lanzillotta. We're on tape today because of the holiday, so no phone calls, but you can send questions or comments in an email to us at bronxtalk@bronxnet.org, or you post them on our Facebook page, and we'll read them on the air during a future edition of our program. But for the here and now, someone who calls himself a plastician because he works in plastics, Daniel Lanzillotta. Good evening. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Gary.
Nice to have you with us. So I am surrounded by these things. We're going to show you them as we, move through the evening. But let's get a little background. How did we get started, and how has it come to be that you are creating these really wonderful, lovely pieces of artwork out of garbage?
Debris.
Debris. It's a much easier way of saying it.
I was living in the southwest of France. My son was about 3 years old, and I would sit along the ocean on the Atlantic coast in the town called Biarritz, France, and I would start making things out of plastic. And slowly but surely, I started shifting away from the beach, bringing it back to my studio, and I started noticing a pattern in the volume of plastic and trash on the beaches. And then as years went by, I started noticing an increase. And I have the original pieces from my son's 22, so 17, 18 years ago.
Right.
And as I continue to make different types of art in different media, wood, steel, things of that nature, I started to notice that the plastic was increasing, garbage was increasing. And I started refining the techniques till I got to where I am now, to a very, very high-end sort of technique on how the pieces are created. And I try to use what ordinary products that are discarded, that are just insignificant, because
to some,
when we put garbage out on the street, we call that in the biz away, but there is no away. That garbage goes into landfills, it goes into the ocean, and plastic. The word "last" is in the word plastic. And plastic is forever because it's science, it's molecular structures.
Mm-hmm. Had you been an artist previous to this, or was this like the eureka moment where you said, oh my goodness, now I'm going to be creative?
No, growing up in the Bronx, my place was in the garage, tinkering, building making. I went to Carnegie Mellon University to become a set and lighting designer. I was a model maker for many years, so this is all natural to me.
Mm-hmm. So every piece that we're going to look at and every item is completely created from debris.
Debris.
From debris that you have found literally on the beaches?
This piece, for instance, is
okay, why don't you pick it up and you can show people.
This is about 99% pure ocean trash, except for the broom part. All the color pieces that are in the front, these pieces here, those are all bottles and what have you.
Can I hold that?
Sure.
Shirley, we can get some close-ups, right? I would like to do that.
That's a neck brace. That would be one in front like that.
It's like
some people wear it as a visor.
It's very heavy.
Very heavy.
So every little item. Oh, they have a picture of it there on the screen as well. It's rather extraordinary given the detail and the number of pieces. You literally walk on beaches? I mean, what a wonderful life to be on the beach.
I've been on Orchard Beach. I've been on Bronx River cleanups with the Bronx River Alliance. I'm a member of the Bronx 200 Artists Directory. And these are the pieces that are coming out of our trash. Literally, it's mostly bottles, plastic bottles.
And like these I guess, those Super Balls. Like
yes,
little,
there's the.
I don't want to break it.
There's a mouse ball here. There's a roll-on deodorant ball.
Oh, that's
there
a
are
mouse
marbles.
ball. Yeah, go ahead.
I try to remember what every piece is as I collect it. I trick myself into believing that I can't remember what they are, but I don't remember.
And, you know, this is the question I always ask artists, and you know, it seems so rather you know, common, I suppose. But how long does it take to collect enough stuff to make a work?
There's so much trash on the beach.
So much. Oh, this is what I didn't want to hear.
When I started out collecting 18 years ago, it was up to my ankle. Now it's past my knee.
What do you mean?
The height of the garbage that comes in after a storm, particularly. On the French coast, you'll get a lot. In China, it's probably meters deep.
Now, you have some, I mean, you touched on it as you started to answer my first question. You started to explain a kind of a larger sense. I introduced the program and said, well, you like to teach children and all that. Now we're going to get to this red dot. Okay,
I'll give you a gift.
Okay.
And the gift is
this is the red dot.
That's the little red dot.
Okay, I don't know. People will, it's just so small.
It's like a millimeter.
It's
2 millimeters.
Tiny red dot.
And that's punched out of just ordinary plastic debris. And then I put them in the little bags, and some people might be familiar with that bag.
All right, this is going to be a real challenge for our technical staff. I'm going to hold that. Now, why are you bothering to give me a little red dot? I don't know if you can.
That's about intention. What is the intention? My intention is to give you a gift. And when I hand you a little red dot, Gary might say, well, I'm used to bigger and better gifts than that. But it's not about the size of the gift. It's about the intention of my giving you the gift. And that gift could be anything. Could be that little red dot. So the idea is to bring significance to the insignificant. And that's what this is. And it's how we treat each other. It's how people are treated, homeless people are treated, how we see, what is racism? It's how you treat somebody. So in other words, when I hand you the dot, you have to experience the dot and the intention. So keep bringing that further and further. So when that happens, when you see that little red dot, this is the result of the little red dot. These are bigger components of that plastic.
You have these conversations with young people, with children?
I do.
I mean, I introduced the show that way.
I do.
And in what form? Just people that you meet, or do you teach a class?
My friend Yolanda Petroselli teaches up in New Haven in the public school system. And she invited me to come up and give a class on the potential of an object.
So in other words, the potential, for example, of...
What is that potential? The potential for that object is to be this sculpture or this piece of jewelry. So you have to change your train of thought and understand what is it that's in our society. Why do we have such waste? Is because people don't see the potential in the objects that they buy. They think it has a shelf life of X amount of time, when in reality it doesn't. Maybe it can be repaired. Maybe you can give it away. Maybe you can sell it. But we tend to throw things out before we try to figure out what's wrong with it.
Yeah, of course, you know, if we did a little bit of better job in recycling and not manufacturing so much plastic, we'd put the guy out of business. But, you know, I saw it written on your website that you say your art supply store is the environment in which we live. So could we just examine some of these things?
Yes.
And so now, do I hold these up, Shirley?
They're very delicate.
All right. Oh, so they're going to show them on that camera.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, this one is a dedication memorial piece to a friend I lost a few years ago, and this is a crystal that she held.
Which is this? I don't know if you can widen it up there. Yeah, there we go.
And this is this one here.
Wait. Let's do one at a time. Don't, you know. Come back one up here. Can we see this one?
That one's called Pointing to Heaven.
Right. And again, every little piece. I mean,
It's handmade.
So you take them and you glue them together? Or
I melt everything together.
Melt everything together. You know, I remember making little pieces for, I can't remember the game that we play. What's the name of the game?
With the marbles?
Scully, yes, Scully. And we would take the crayons and we would melt them and put them on the stove, and then we would melt them. I guess it's a very similar sort of
Yeah, I must have experienced that somewhere along the line.
And what strikes me, I mean, all of these tiny little pieces, it's rather extraordinary.
Thank you.
Whoa.
That's an umbrella, by the way, the metal part.
Where are we looking?
This is all. This is.
Oh, that's from an umbrella, of
Right.
course. Yeah, yeah, wow. People, take a look. That's the umbrella that you discarded on
they're everywhere.
on
They're
a really rainy day.
fantastic things to work with.
All right, so Neilani, I guess we're down to the one in the front here.
That's the famous Starbucks green stirrer thing that you use to plug up your.
Oh, wait, we got to go to this thing. Okay, now if you tilt down, that's these green guys right there. Those are the stirrers.
Right.
And you found these on the beach? You didn't, like, go into
Those are in
Starbucks?
front of every Starbucks store,
On the ground.
everywhere.
So it doesn't necessarily mean the beach, but that's our
Well,
environment.
I'll take my garbage wherever I can get it. I mean,
And so some of them look petrified, I guess.
yes, that's
you
all worked by hand.
work by hand. Wow. Okay, so
And then the blue part is a vibrating toothbrush that actually walks across the floor when the battery's working. And so these little springs are just from some discarded electronic thing. These are all handmade springs. So as it walks across the
this
floor,
is fantastic stuff. I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
so as it walks across the floor, see my ring there.
We're going to do that in a second. Go
So
ahead.
these vibrate and dance. That's called T-jazz.
And this actually was...
That's a toothbrush.
This is a toothbrush right in the middle. Wow.
And this one-
you found it discarded
Oh
somewhere.
yeah, everything is discarded. This is all trash.
So
Brooms,
you know,
garbage.
The environmental lesson, I have to say, is every time we throw things away and we don't recycle them or don't put them in some form, they're going to end up
In the ocean.
in the ocean as
In the
part of
ocean.
your
Well,
art supply
that's the
stuff.
thing. Most people don't really understand the process of their environment where they are because they think because they're in an urban area and it goes into outside to the trash and then the sanitation department comes and picks it up. It's being either incinerated or trucked out to a barge and dumped in the ocean.
You know, there is beauty in these things, and there is incredible creativity, and I'm torn in my mind of whether I'm saying this is beautiful or absolutely horrific. Because, my goodness, look at, I mean, this is just one tiny bit.
That's the whole point of it. The point of it is to bring beauty to what we discard and to have a conversation about it, to shift
Which
the
we're
conscious-
doing on television
to
right now.
shift consciousness about what your choices are. I'm not saying to not use plastic. Plastic is not going away. It's going to last. These plastic pieces in the ocean last over 1,000 years.
What about this guy that's
That's
right-
called. That's called.
Sorry, I've given it human properties.
That piece is called "The Heart of a Poet," and
Okay.
it's quite magnificent. It has whimsical pieces.
we
All
can
the
get it
pieces in the
there.
bottom there. It's magical stuff.
Let's just move the cup out of the way so people can really get a nice look at it. Now, and this white thing?
That's a white bucket.
A white?
Just a white bucket.
A bucket.
A bucket.
Like the strap from a...
No, just a bucket. I deconstruct all the plastic. These are
Wow.
all buckets. This is a paint bucket.
And it's not like you go into a store and say, oh, this is
No.
the piece I need.
No, every piece is handmade.
And this looks also like the base of an umbrella.
That's an umbrella.
Goodness gracious.
And these pieces
Well,
here.
let me just add. So
these are umbrella pieces.
all right, well, we're going to take a look at that in a second. So every time any one of us, you walk down the street and you,
I can't.
on a crappy rainy, on a rainy day and the wind is blowing, because now we've messed up the environment, so every storm we get, every rain is a big storm, and it blows your umbrella and you take the umbrella and you go like this. This is what ends up somewhere
I'm
on the
behind
beach.
you.
You're behind us picking it up?
Yes.
Or you find it somewhere. Now let's go back to that. You did great getting a shot of this. This is another, now is this a neck thing? Or?
That's also a neck brace, a necklace, for lack of a better description. And that's half ocean and half Brooklyn garbage.
Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Eee, I don't want to touch. And these, which people will recognize, are the bottom of somebody's umbrella, or a couple of umbrellas, really.
Yeah, it's a couple.
And these little steel things here. This is extraordinary work. Takes you a long time? I asked you already, but I look at a piece like
that's
this.
a trade secret, but I'll tell you that I transport a lot of plastic between the United States and France. So I'll take trash from the United States. I'll bring it to France and work it. I'll bring trash from France back to the United States, and so I'm constant. You know, when this was shipped, I have had my luggage checked many times. But when this show was shipped from France, I thought, wow, they're going to open that box and they're going to go, And you know what? It was never touched. It was never opened. There was never security. I was blown away just by the fact that when I went through the X-ray machine, someone had to say, "What in God's name is in there?" Because this would show up. This would show up as a very odd picture, I think, on an X-ray machine.
It shows up as somewhat of an odd picture on our TV show.
Right, and it's very interesting that it didn't. But like I said, like these pieces are from tubes, water tubes, plastic water tubes in Brooklyn this past summer.
Water tubes? What do you mean by water tubes?
Yeah, they're replacing water tubes in Manhattan and Brooklyn, rather, in the streets, and they were covered with these plastic things, and they're lying there, and I'm going, yeah, well, that's going to make something really nice.
Talk to me about something called functional fixedness. What does that
functional
mean?
fixedness comes out of
fixedness.
Fixedness.
You called it fixedness.
Fixedness, yeah. Functional fixedness is a principle about how we see something. So, this item to you, if I asked you what this item was,
this is my Bronxtalk cup.
This is a cup, right? So most people would say anywhere in the world that this is a cup.
Yes.
But in fact, it's not. It's beyond a cup.
That's what I said at the beginning, the realm of the truly possible. Go ahead. What?
This is more than a cup. And so if you look at the little
why
because I can deconstruct it and I can make something else out of it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, for that you would have to smash it and get little parts.
Well, that's what this is. This is all functional fixedness. So throughout all cultures, it's not just within the Western culture, it's in all cultures. The same principle applies to everything. If you show somebody a baseball, they'll say it's a baseball.
Of course.
I say it's not. I say it's a sweater. I say it's a mitten.
Because you can then unravel.
I unravel it and I knit clothes from it.
Could we get a shot of his ring? It's so cool. And I'm going to ask you, I mean, this is, unbeknownst to me, I was going to get into some kind of, hold it up so they could see it, and just hold it still. Look at that. And what are those things?
These are plastic bottles.
Wow.
Soap bottles.
Unbeknownst to me that
and a wire tie.
We were going to get into like this deep esoteric idea. So for all of us walking down the street in the Bronx who say, I'd like to be affected by some artwork or an artist who is presenting something out of the ordinary, what are they to get out of what we're seeing here, of these little plastic bags, of the fact that our umbrellas are now turned into these very lovely pieces? I mean, how does this change your view, or should this change a person's view of the world?
I have no control over that. All I'm asking.
No, I'm asking.
I mean, for me,
that's what I want.
If this was the perfect situation, and someone was looking at something and said, my attitude towards utilizing and consuming, I'm going to think this through before I purchase something. In other words, if you're going to go to Starbucks or somewhere, don't use the straw. Straws are killing fish. Straws are one of the worst objects. Don't take the little green thing to plug the hole in the cup, because that's one of the worst things.
Use a wooden stirrer, for example.
Once plastic is in the environment, it's there forever. The plastic that was originally manufactured back in the day is still with us, except it's small. It's been broken down. It doesn't go away. It doesn't decompose like paper or wood or organic materials, grass and things like that. These things last forever. We're looking at 1,000 years of this in the ocean.
What do kids say when you present some of these concepts to them?
Well, it's a little bit more complex because it's a lot more for them to handle. For instance,
it's a lot for me to handle, folks. Come on now.
When I did the class up in New Haven not so long ago, I went and I made 75 wind turbines that can charge a cell phone.
Wind turbines?
Yes. At Starbucks, you can get
out of this stuff.
You can get wind turbines at Starbucks. You take the plastic card, the credit card that they give, wooden sticks, stirrers, and straws. So I hold up the straw and I ask the class, what is this? And everyone will say it's a straw. And then you hold up the stick and everyone will say it's a stick. You hold up the plastic card and everyone says it's a plastic card. But in fact, it's not. It's more than its potential. It's more than what we've come to accept. It applies to everybody. Are you a gay person? Or are you a black person or a white person? No, you're way more than that. It's not what the view of somebody's telling you what you are. Your potential is far greater than that because of the package you come in. And that's what the story's about. the story is about the little red dot. It's about the potential of somebody, or the potential of that person. What could that person accomplish and do? So when you walk into Starbucks and you see Starbucks straws, sticks, and plastics, cards, when you take those items and assemble them in a certain way, you can create a wind turbine. And that wind turbine, I mean, believe me, when it turns, it turns. And through some...
And you could actually save the world that way, because you could build a large one and create energy.
You could take those 3 items with certain electronics from... You buy a little kit from Radio Shack, you figure out the electronic part of it.
When we had Radio Shack.
And, well, those sort of places. And you buy the pieces online, wherever. And you can take that wind turbine and hook it into an interface and charge your phone. It's that simple.
It's that simple. How prolific are you? Like, do you turn them out?
I get up at 5 o'clock. I'm out of the house by 6:30, and I'm sitting in Starbucks or by a river, and I'm melting and building and making pieces every single day.
Right. Dahlia, we have some more pictures of things to show. I wouldn't mind just running some of those. I don't know if you can see that one. That is a
that's crazy.
It's like a handbag or something, or like a wine pouch.
It's a neck brace as well, and that's 100% out of the ocean, except for the 2 ends of pieces from Canal Street back in the day when Canal Street was junk stores. I still have stuff from Canal Street in storage.
Keep going. This is, I guess, similar to the one that we have.
That one under construction.
Right. And that was also the other piece. And this is beautiful. I could see people wearing this. This particular necklace is just beautiful.
That's an interesting piece, because that's construction debris from in France. It didn't get to the ocean yet, but the gold part was a Prestone antifreeze bottle that I found in Bridgeport, Connecticut, that went to France. And then there's lots of this one particularly is mixed up. So
that's one of these neck things. Look at this piece. What is this piece?
That's just a whimsical earring.
Whimsical earring. That would be for a very long earring.
Yeah, it dangles down.
Dangles down. Is it heavy? And made from the same kind of plastics?
It's all debris.
All right, keep going. We got more. What is this?
That is
it's an American flag.
Well, no, that's a Bronx beer can, which is being made into a bracelet. That's the end result.
That's the end result, or you're still working on it?
That's the end result.
So you then would take that in?
No, that piece is, I'm rendering the can to make pieces for the bracelet. The bracelet is, this piece came out of the ocean from France, this blue part. Right. It's about this big.
People can't see that,
and
so that's on this neck thing.
I had some extra pieces, and that piece will become a Bronx beer bracelet.
You sell them? You display them?
I do sell them, and I like to sell more of them.
Well, how do we go about doing that? People can.
Well, I hopefully will have a show in a gallery somewhere between the end of November and December, and that's going to be by invitation.
In the Bronx?
In Bridgeport, Connecticut.
Bridgeport, Connecticut.
And as a Bronx 200 artist, I hopefully will have a group show at some point.
Just to digress for a moment, you had mentioned this idea of Bronx 200. I was, surprisingly to me, was unfamiliar. What is the Bronx 200? And you are a Bronx 200 artist.
Eileen Walsh, Valerie Larco, and Arlene James started a Bronx directory. And this all started when I was in France making this very show. And I was posting it, and a friend of mine came from another town in France called Toulouse. He's also a Bronx-born guy. He went to Lehman College, in fact, Joe Diamidi. And he was making little videos in Toulouse, around the Toulouse area. They said, come to Biarritz and shoot a video of me with this artwork and with the story of the little red dot. And he came. We made a couple of videos. We went to a butcher shop around the block. This guy had an old canning machine. We started canning plastic as a joke and started posting it. And some folks from the Bronx 200, I think it was Arlene or one of those folks.
Whomever.
Might have been, I think it was Arlene, because I communicated with Arlene James. And she invited me because I was born and raised in the Bronx.
We'll have to have them on the show at some point.
Oh, they have to come on the show.
I also want to thank my buddy Ed Condi Garcia, because he's the one who tipped, I mentioned at the top of the show, he tipped us off to this.
Yes, he's incredible.
Right, so he had the vision of it. So how do people get in touch with you or see more of you?
You can find me on Facebook, or you can call me.
Look at Daniel Lanzolata.
Right, or they can go to Bronx 200. and find me there.
Okay.
And there's my bio and my mission statement.
Daniel, you know, I present a lot of things on this program, and much of it is designed to expand the consciousness of Bronxites, usually by presenting projects or ideas for urban projects that they had never thought of. I had never thought of presenting garbage, plastic, in this way. So thank you for opening our minds, for changing our minds, for giving us a new way to look at the world in the Bronx.
Thank you so much.
Daniel Lanzillotta. Folks, if you have further questions or comments on anything you heard on tonight's show or anything going on in the Bronx, then you email them to us at bronxtalk@bronxnet.org, or you put them on our Facebook page, and we'll read them on the air during a future edition of our program. We ask you to like Bronx Talk on Facebook, and you can check out our archives at bronxnet.org. You'll find Bronx Talk on the lower right navigation bar. So thanks to everybody who worked on the show. Neilani was running around with the cameras to get it right, and Dahlia, our producer, Shirley, our director. And guess what? We'll see you next week. Goodbye.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
A full life, measured in seats, starts with the right ones early on. Car crashes are a leading killer of children 1 to 13. Learn how to prevent deaths and injuries by using the right car seat for your child's age and size.
So, I got this new family, and I don't know what it is about this one, but she can't seem to put down that toy. Oh, and she even talks to it. Who's she talking to? Her mom? She talks to her mom a lot.
Maybe he's really focused.
Maybe he likes spinning the wheels.
Maybe he just loves trucks.